Hello Capricorn, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we're going to look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it, the concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section will be looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Capricorn, let's jump on in. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards first, as always, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. So let's start, Capricorn, with looking at your side of this connection to the person you are dealing with. Okay. Healing, dead end, euphoria, friendship. So I feel like this connection is in a difficult place for a few reasons. And I feel like one of the things that you're struggling with the most when it comes to this connection is I do feel like you value what this person brings to your life. It doesn't necessarily mean that this connection is just a friendship, but that you do value the friendship that this person provides, the companionship, if you will. And I feel like there are times in this connection where things are really, really good, where things feel promising and exciting and optimistic. You feel optimistic about it. But then I feel like what happens is you're finding yourself constantly in this place of having to like heal and recover from this connection. Like there's things that are always coming up, different situations that are arising, and it just seems that you can't make those like good times last because there's always something that brings you to a difficult place. And I feel like that's why the connection is in a difficult place, because on one hand, you really value what it provides to your life, but on the other, it's kind of dragging you through a lot. And I think that you're trying to kind of weigh, is this worth it? Do I want this person in my life? Or like to what extent? And I just feel like this is overall really complicated for, like I said, a lot of different reasons. So I don't necessarily know what to make of that energy, and I feel like maybe you're like me either, which is why I'm watching this reading or watching readings about it. But let's see what this person has going on, this person's energy toward you. Because yeah, with that dead end card, it's like I pictured this like party. It's like there's a party and everyone's having a great time, and then like a record scratch, and it's like everything stops, and now all of a sudden people are having a really bad time. And it's like, that's kind of what I feel like this connection is. It's like there are times where it's good and it's wonderful and you have fun together. And then there's times where it's just like, what the heck is going on? Like, and you're in a painful place because of it, right? This person's energy toward you, Capricorn. Ego, interference, and reciprocity. Their ego is interfering with their ability to reciprocate. That is a straightforward message. I also feel like I pulled that ego card and it was like I kind of heard this like, oh, surprise, surprise. Like this is something that I don't feel like you're totally shocked by. I do feel like there's an awareness of how this happens. Our ego gets in the way for a lot of different reasons. It gets in the way when it's trying to protect us. It gets in the way when it's trying to make decisions that aligns with our wounding instead of our desires or our healing. which again is another form of trying to protect us. And I feel like it's hard because, I think that there's a lot of things that this person does that doesn't make a lot of sense to you, is one of the things that I feel like is coming through the most, where it's like they do things and you're like, this wasn't even an issue, or like this wasn't even a problem, or like, why are you responding like that, or why are we in this place? And I think that might actually be one of the reasons that you're watching. And I said this already, but that you're watching, or looking for answers in tarot, is like just trying to make sense of this person's behavior. I will say, when you're dealing with like a difficult person, someone who is very driven by ego, a lot of times their decisions won't really make sense to us, because we're always trying to view other people's decisions through the lens of like what we would do in that situation. And if someone doesn't have the same level of healing or growth or like consciousness that you do, then it's just not going to make sense to you, because they're just in a different place. It doesn't mean that one person is better than the other. It just means that they're in a different place on their journey. But I do feel like their ego gets in the way of their reciprocation in this connection. And I feel like when we get into tarot, we'll break down a lot more of what that really looks like and what that actually means here. But let's see, truth of this connection here between you and this person, Capricorn. And I feel like that's when, like, it's when they start, and I think, oh yeah, it's almost like this person has two different sides to them. It's like the side of them that is like fun and loving and inviting and welcoming and, kind. And then just like the other side of them that is just very ego driven and very maybe even mean or cruel, or just like, I don't know. And I think that it kind of, I'm not saying this person is a Gemini, but it kind of gives that like energy of the twins, like having two different personalities in a person. And I feel like that's what's hard, is like when this person is the person that you enjoy, then it's like things are wonderful, but then they turn into somebody that you don't really recognize, and you're like, what is this? Like, what is going on? I thought that we were good. Of course, that's going to be difficult to handle. Okay, truth of this connection between Capricorn and this person. Ego gets in the way of their reciprocation. Breakups and makeups. I could have told you that. I feel like there's just this like times where things are good, and then times where there's separation. Times where you come back together because you see that side of them that you love, and then times where you're like, whoa, what the hell? So I definitely could have told you that energy was going to be present, just kind of given that, given the energies that I've seen on both sides. But then you have connection here. I feel like you and this person have a strong connection that you can't seem to shake, even when, it's funny because there's the separation card, even when you're in separation, like even when you're in some sort of distance, right? It's like, and I think that it's so hard because you're so drawn to who this person shows up as sometimes. But you're also at the same time very put off. That's not turned off, I guess, by the person that sometimes comes out, especially when you don't really like recognize them. And maybe there's something that causes that. Maybe it happens when they get triggered. Maybe it happens when they drink. Maybe it happens when there's a fight. Like, and I will say, one of the most important aspects of a healthy relationship is finding people who are kind to you, even when you're in the midst of conflict, because you deserve kindness and respect no matter what, whether there's a disagreement or not. But that's beside the point. I don't know what, someone I feel like needed to hear that. But anyway, overall theme of this reading between Capricorn and this person. It feels like this person makes certain decisions and then they regret those decisions. They like regret those actions, and they're like, man, why did I do that? But then they come back, and maybe they're that, they're apologetic, or they're like, oh, that'll never happen again. But then they make those same decisions, and then they regret them again. But there's no actual changed behavior. And I will say the only real apology is changed behavior at the end of the day. So you have changes will be made, but changes to you, not to this person. I feel, because then you have some people never change. Miscommunication, you love me. And then inevitable. I feel like this, I don't know what happens. It's like a ticking time bomb. It's like this person's response or reaction that just like messes everything up. And you're like, you like are waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it feels like it's hard because there are times where it maybe happens out of the blue, or maybe there are times where you see it coming, but either way, I feel like it always happens. There are times where this person creates distance in this connection, where this person's ego gets in the way, where they make decisions that harms either them or you or both of you. And I think that it's hard because you're waiting for that consistency in this connection where this person doesn't do that. Because I feel like if this person didn't do some of the things that they do, then it'd be fine, right? Like, obviously, there are periods of time where things are really good. It's just whenever that ego comes out, and I don't necessarily know in what form or how that happens, but I do feel like it's hard because this person knows that you love them and that you care about them and you're kind of willing to put up with a lot, but I feel like you're getting really close to your limit, even if you don't want to be. Like, emotionally, I feel like you're like, I don't know how much more of this I can take, which makes a lot of sense. It's funny that I said, changes will be made, but then you have some people never change. So it's like, I don't know. I feel like that's a message within itself, but we'll see as we progress. So let's look, Capricorn, at your side of this connection. To the person you are dealing with, you have euphoria with dead end. Up, down, left, and right. Very roller coaster type energy. All right, Capricorn side of this connection. See what we got here. I feel like I kind of get this feeling of walking on eggshells a little bit. No, it's this way. High Priestess, upright, Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Okay, yeah, that clicks. I feel like intuitively, I feel like you're connected to this person's potential in some sort of an intuitive way, like maybe actually connected to like their higher self or their 5D self. And I feel like you are very capable of seeing who this person could be. And that potential that they hold. You could be dealing with a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio. You definitely don't have to be. I feel like this is also the energy that you carry in this connection. Very compassionate, very understanding. And I feel like you're almost overly understanding. And I don't mean that in the sense that you shouldn't be empathetic, but I do feel like you have a tendency to look past a lot of things that this person does because you have a lot of empathy for them. But like I said, I feel like a big part of that is because you are like almost like connected to them in a way that it's like you know who they really are. You know their heart. You know that they really do love and care about you. But then like the way that they act, I feel like that's why sometimes it's so painful and difficult for you, because you're like, why are you doing this? Like, I know what you're capable of. I know that things could just be fine. This would be fun. We could just, stay at this party and have a good time if you would just stop acting like this. And I think that puts you in this position of like waiting for this person to consistently be that person that you know that they can be, but yet putting up with all of the times when they're not, which is obviously really hard because at the same time, you deserve more. But then again, at the same time, but you know that more could exist in them if they would just, stop doing certain things. Capricorn side of this connection. And again, I feel like you carry a lot of love, compassion, understanding. Like this Queen of Cups is very much your energy in this connection. 2 of Pentacles in reverse with the 6 of Pentacles. I feel like you are giving a lot to this connection and have given a lot to this connection for a really long time. And I feel like, or, just given a lot to this connection in general. Time doesn't really matter. This could be a connection you've been dealing with for months or for years or whatever. But I do feel like you've given and given and given. Like it's like you've poured time, energy, resources into this connection and this person, waiting to get to this place that you are hoping for, where this person acts a different way. And I think that that has caused you almost a little bit, maybe you do recognize this, maybe you don't, but to over prioritize like what they need, their happiness, making sure that you don't upset them, that you don't do certain things that puts them into this, you know, ego place, almost like walking on eggshells. Yeah, like making sure that you're perfect, that you don't make a mistake, that you're showing up exactly how they need, no matter what the you know, what that might require from you. And I think that you do that over and over and over again, but yet this person still reacts the way that they do. And I think that then that makes you go, well, then, you know, why am I not enough? Why are you not seeing that I'm deserving of being treated better than this? Like, I'm doing everything I can to make you happy or to make you feel, you know, loved or safe in this connection. So like, why is it not enough for you? And it's important for you to know, hair in my mouth. It's important for you to know that, what you have to give is absolutely enough. And I'm not saying that you've just been 100% perfect in this connection and this person's made absolutely no mistakes, okay? Everybody makes mistakes in relationships. There's always room to grow. But I will say, I do feel like you are putting forth your absolute best effort. Like, I do really feel that you are showing up in this in the absolute best way that you can to try to be there for this person. I feel like it's making it hard for you to see things clearly because it's like you're the version of them that you know that they can be, and the version of them that they're capable of showing up with as right now are two very different people. So it's almost like you're holding them to these expectations of this person you know that they can be, yet, you know, essentially getting upset when they're showing up as the person that they are, which is understandable because I do feel like it is harming you. But at the same time, I feel like there's more to it than you might be able to see right now. Because again, that connection is so strong, right? So, but I feel like the strong connection that you have is to like that 5D self, that version of them, that potential that you see. And then the 3D version of them, I don't know if that makes sense. I feel like it's going to make sense to the right people. But then like the version of them that they show up as is someone often completely different than the version of them that you know that they can be. Of course, that's challenging. Okay. This energy towards you, Capricorn ego, with reciprocity. Basically, if I were to boil it down, it just feels like this person has a little bit of growing to do. It feels like there's some immaturity happening here, emotional immaturity, you know, reacting rather than responding, using triggers as excuses to, you know, for poor behavior, things of that nature. Because at the end of the day, like, our trauma and the things that we've been through and our triggers and all of those things, like, they're not other people's responsibility to deal with. You know, just saying, oh, I treated you that way because I was triggered, like, that's not an excuse. You can have that self-awareness, but that doesn't mean you can just like keep doing that, right? And I feel like that's a lot of what this person does. It's like they react so heavily in certain ways. All right, this person's energy toward you, Capricorn. I don't know. There's a lot here. So let's just see. The Lovers. Oh, yeah, okay. I literally pulled the Lovers and I said the Lovers, and then I heard this scream in my head that was like, in reverse. I'm like, oh, okay. This person's energy toward you, Capricorn. I feel like that's because this is probably an important part of this message. Oh my goodness. Okay. There's the King of Cups again. I know we had the Queen of Cups, but you could be dealing with a water sign, like I said, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, but you definitely don't have to be. I feel like this is just a really emotional connection. Page of Wands here. So Lovers in reverse, Justice in reverse, Page of Wands, upright. Oh my goodness. Knight of Cups, Four of Pentacles in reverse. Queen of Wands in reverse. These are almost all in reverse. This person is very reactive. Okay. So I don't know if you would know this from the surface. Maybe you would, maybe you wouldn't. But this person is actually pretty insecure. And I don't mean that being insecure isn't a bad thing. Everybody has insecurities. The issue arises when we allow those insecurities to make decisions for us. And I feel like the reason that this Lovers in reverse is such an important part of this message is I feel like this person doesn't feel good enough for you, for the type of love that you provide. And they kind of expect this connection to fail because they don't feel as if they have what's necessary in order to make it work. Now, it's funny because their belief that they're not good enough is the problem. That's the problem. It's like if they could just know that they were good enough for love and not act from that place of insecurity, then there would be an issue, right? But of course, it's not so simple because, so much of our behavior stems from our wounding, or before we heal, stems from our wounding or our lack of healing. And it's not wrong to make mistakes, to act from a place of triggers, to act from a place of insecurities. That is not a wrong thing to do. We've all been there. We've all done it. The problem arises when we use those things as excuses and we don't take accountability and actually change our behavior. And that's what I feel is happening in this connection is, this person is coming from a place of insecurity and they're making decisions to try to protect themselves from harm. And they do that, their ego gets in the way, and their ego does that by, whether it's self-sabotage or, pushing you away or whatever the case is. Which again, it happens, okay? The problem is that there's no accountability when it's happening. Taking accountability after the fact is one thing. Being like, oh yeah, like I messed up or I shouldn't have done that is one thing. But you can only take accountability in hindsight so many times when you continue to do the same thing over and over again, and you just go, oh yeah, I messed up. Oh yeah, I made that mistake. Oh yeah, like I won't do it again. Eventually, no one's going to believe you, right? Because you're not actually changing your behavior. You're not actually sorry. Because if you were actually sorry or actually willing to, keep the relationship working, you would do the work. You would change the behavior. You would take a look at yourself and you would say, okay, what are proactive steps I can do to not do this thing again, right? That's what's missing here. And I will say, changing behavior requires being willing to take accountability and to understand how our wounds drive us, how our insecurities drive us. Because what happens, I feel like, is, this connection feels really good and it's in such a good place, and this person gets spooked because they're like, oh my gosh, this feels so good, and this is probably going to end up in a bad way because it's like they don't trust themselves. It's like they expect themselves to mess it up because they don't feel good enough, and then they mess it up because they don't feel good enough. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy in some sort of way. And it's hard because I feel like that this person wants to do better in some sort of way. It's like their heart, and I keep coming back to that. Their heart, their potential, but the way that they act is like the complete opposite of that sometimes. And I think that this person is with the Four of Pentacles in reverse, I feel like they're kind of unstable. And I don't mean that they're just like mentally and emotionally just completely off the wall unstable. Maybe they are, depends on who you're dealing with. But, the Queen of Wands in reverse is all about being super reactive, just 0 to 100, like that, on defensive all the time. Anything can set them off and sets them off in such a big way. That's a lack of emotional regulation. That's a lack of healing, a lack of actually dealing with some of the things that they've been through. Now, they do have the Page of Wands here, which means that this person probably has been through a lot in their life that has created these behaviors for them. And maybe, again, you have a lot of empathy and understanding for that. But it's so important to remember that unconditional love and unconditional empathy does not equal unconditional tolerance. Because if you are loving someone unconditionally, but tolerating mistreatment or a cycle that is harming you in some way, then that isn't actually unconditional love, because it's not being extended towards yourself either. Unconditional love is finding that love for yourself and for another person and acting in a way that balances the two. And I think that where things stand right now, it's like there's a lot of understanding. I get why this person does this. They do these things because they're hurting or they've been hurt or whatever. But that doesn't make it okay. And that doesn't mean that that's what you're deserving of, right? So you're waiting on them to change. Yet from this perspective that I see, it doesn't seem like, especially with the Justice in reverse, that there's any actual accountability. Like they might look back and be like, oh my gosh, I never meant to hurt you. I'm so sorry. And I said this. Yeah, I said this. It's like they regret it. But then they keep coming back to the same behavior. And you're like, but I thought that you were sorry. I thought that you regretted it. And it's like, that's not actually an apology. The only real apology is change behavior. And when somebody isn't actually showing up for you in that way, that's where things start to get harmful, is because you're saying, I deserve more, I deserve more, I deserve more, but yet continuing to accept harm or mistreatment in some way. So I don't know. I feel like there is a cycle here that definitely needs to be broken. I also feel like it's important for you to know that this person doesn't act the way that they do because they don't think that you are deserving of being treated better. They don't see their own deservingness, and people who don't see their own deservingness aren't going to see other people's deservingness. You know, they're not going to act in accordance of, you know, the respect that you deserve and the treatment that you deserve. Because if you think of it this way, right? This person's behavior is a self-fulfilling prophecy. They aren't loving themselves enough to make healthier choices in this connection to make it work, right? Which means that they are, and then they get upset about it because they don't want to hurt you and they don't want to hurt themselves, yet they do it anyway, right? But they're not loving themselves to actually do the work to change the behavior, you know, whether that is through therapy or through, you know, just deeper self-help, just learning to understand themselves, which means that they're not loving themselves enough to change. It's not that they're not loving you enough to change. And I think that it's really, really important to always remember that people don't, people's behavior very, very, very rarely has anything to do with us. And it always has everything to do with them, which can help us on our healing journey, because it can help us separate our worth and our value from how people treat us, and understand that how people treat us is a reflection of how much they value themselves. You know, people often think of ego as someone who's like just super egotistical and very full of themselves. And sure, it can absolutely present in that way, but at the core of the ego, it's an identity that somebody has to build in order to protect themselves from who they really are. They don't believe that who they really are is worthy and deserving, so they build an ego around that to protect themselves from that feeling of being unworthy and deserving, which in reality actually creates situations that make them feel unworthy and undeserving. It's like I said, a self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think that, I don't know, it's just like you keep trying to get in the middle of that, but I think it's making it hard for you in a lot of ways. In between this connection, you have breakups and makeups with connection. I'm going to dive deeper into this connection, looking at the deeper purpose and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Any information for that is in the description box below. This is, I also want to let you guys know that this is your last chance to sign up for my workshop that is happening on this Friday, April 25th at 6 p.m. Central Time, which is all about the secret to manifesting. Anything about that is at the very top of the description box below. Tickets are so close to being sold out. I don't know how much longer they're going to be up. So just a heads up there. I hope to see you guys there. I'm very excited about this one. And yeah, so thank you guys so much as always for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, Capricorn, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. Bye, Capricorn.